Are they going to be posted or is it a per request?
They will be posted onto the town's YouTube page.
Oh,
We have we'll have a section just for the Conservation Commission. So every committee will have its own like little subsection on our page. So I can send you guys that so you can look at just where it is.
okay. That'll be new. Actually, we should discuss the executive session rules. What if we're talking about properties that, that we're thinking about for some reason, conserving whatever, and we don't particularly want to make that public? Like with BTLT, for instance, when they're negotiating something?
Well, so technically anything in the committees is public.
Okay.
So we can't really. So
we have
use
to
discretion if you'd like to bring it up or not.
Yeah, okay. So we'll have to, sort of put the titles or names in quotes or something like that.
Right.
I have some ideas on this topic that we can share after the recording is stopped.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I just thought of that because, anyway. So we have I guess, first step is approving the October minutes. Is anybody?
So moved.
Okay.
I was not present.
Oh, okay, that's right, yes. All in favor?
Well, it was the three of us then.
Yeah, that's right.
Did they look okay?
Yeah, they were fine.
Did you second it?
Yeah, I raised my hand.
Probably appropriate to say in a row that you would second it.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, we're very formal. I guess I did not make it to the actually general public. Since the last meeting, some of us have met with BTLT to do a monitoring of one of the town properties, and I and Josh did join them with monitoring a second town property that town property that they have easement on. And so the two properties were called the Rogers property and Head of Tide Park. Head of Tide Park, I assume everybody kind of knows what that is. The Rogers property is kind of along the Cathants River. If you take the Cathants River Trail from Head of Tide to the Cathants Preserve, Rogers property is one of those properties you pass through there. And it's also got its own set of trails. So
How'd your visit go, Nick?
Oh, okay.
With you and Josh?
Yeah. Actually, we only did the part across. I think that's the only part that they actually have an easement on. We actually own the other side, I believe, in total, and I'm not sure they have an easement on it. Anyway, but on the side which has the newer parking lot and that was recently acquired, it's sort of what's that called? The
boat launch side?
Well, yes, the new boat launch side.
Yeah.
We basically walked where the trail, the sort of half-finished trail is. And I don't know
Is there a trail?
Yeah, okay, so.
I mean, the parking lot,
So
to the boat launch, the new boat launch,
Yes.
that's further upstream from the dam
Yeah,
or from the falls.
it's upstream, right?
There was a trail there.
Yes,
there
that's
another trail?
that's a well-trodden trail
Yeah,
that the Public Works put in, everything, that's great. Raya and a couple others of us in past visits there, basically in removing invasives, we actually kind of cut, a corridor. It's actually not very wide, and now the part from that lower trail to up the hill is just completely overgrown.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Just doesn't get enough use.
It doesn't get enough use, and it's not clearly marked as a trail, so I don't.
It's kind of a trail to nowhere, right? I mean, there's no.
Well, it's a loop. There's a loop.
Oh.
You go up the hill, you kind of, and then it sort of follows along one side of a ravine, and then you can
Just
cross
right
over to
back
the
up.
other side of the ravine and come back.
I would add though, it is overgrown, but not too many. Not too many invasives.
Yeah, on that part, yeah. wow, I'm having trouble tonight. Not Buckthorn, Barberry. The
Yes,
Barberry
yes,
that we
Japanese
had
barberry.
tons of last time that we were doing that, is starting to come back. It's now only maybe 1.5 or 2 feet in most
We
places.
should put that on our chopping list. for
Yeah,
next
we're
week.
gonna have to get back out there, and sort of take care of that again, or else it's just gonna take over again. So I think that's gonna be one of our events next spring, is getting everybody, and I'll see about, it's kind of the timing for Bowden students is gonna be a little bit rough, because we're probably not gonna get, for Barberry, it doesn't matter, but for some of the other stuff that's there, it would be nice to have some leaves or some better indication of where it is exactly, so, and I don't know, they leave in like early May, so.
Yeah, I think if we did it in the fall, they could help us, but not
Not in the spring. Yeah.
likely in the spring.
Yeah, I don't know. The best time to deal with invasives if you're, spraying, insecticide,
Herbicide.
herbicides, thank you. Herbicides is in the fall, but if we're just gonna cut, I think the spring is probably better before they get too much energy,
I think as long as we do it before it goes to fruit or
That's-
seed,
Yeah,
so that's not making the problem worse.
yeah, exactly, yes. Yeah.
Do you treat the cuts with
No, we did-
glyphosate or something?
We didn't last time, and it's been 3 years or so, maybe
Probably
4.
about that.
Yeah, 3 or 4 years, and we did. It's it's coming back, but it's not like it took over again. It's not like it's as bad as it was. So I think if we kept at it every year or two, and just it would get to the point where there's just not much happening.
It's definitely based on what I saw. Like if that's something that had been done 3 to 4 years ago, and that's what it looks like now, I feel like just a few
Chop it down.
years of pulling it should be pretty good.
Yeah.
It's not coming back super fast.
Yeah, it's mostly shady, where it is. There's a few, some spots, but it's mostly shady.
Yeah.
So I guess if we do get to the point where after a couple of tries it doesn't, we have some areas where it's not, we probably should go to the, we have to find a licensed herbicide applicator that'll do it for us. So, although I've been told that
It's
there's
over the counter, right? I mean, you can buy,
well, we
I
can't.
don't know what the right one is.
We
You
can't
can't
do it on public land without being licensed. That's the rules.
Really?
Yes, it's a state rule. So that's why we
Oh,
haven't
okay.
done it. We have done it once. We did it at the rec fields. The rec fields by Forsyth Road there, right up as they start going up the hill there, it was covered with bittersweet and some barberry and a few other things. And we cut that and had Tom yeah, exactly. Worked for Stantec. He came, he followed us, we cut all the stuff with help from a bunch of Bowden students, and then he painted all of the stamps. And that's really, I mean, it's just like, there's still stuff there, but they mow it. And so it keeps it under control. So yeah.
Realize you couldn't do it on
No.
public land.
No, unfortunately, if it was private property, it'd be no problem.
Yeah. It's also like that in any shoreline area as well. You have to have some of the certification.
That's right, true, within 250, well, no, it's a stream, so it's only 75 feet, right?
Well, he's still a Topsham resident and he still
Yes.
works for Stantec, so I'm betting he still has the certification. Maybe we
Yeah,
could,
oh, yeah, he does, actually. But there's actually another person at Stantec who is their sort of main person for dealing with that. He was at the annual meeting at the MEAC, Maine Association of Conservation Commission's annual meeting, and he said he'd be interested. He'd contact us, if you need to do something. But I don't know if that was for free. I can't remember off the top of my
Oh,
head.
that's okay.
Sorry.
Another person that I know does it, obviously he, would expect to get paid for it. Maybe these people would as well, but Kyle Rosenberg,
Yeah.
Forest Ashore, is the name of his company. He used to be the arborist
Yes.
for
Bass.
Bass.
And actually, it was
he had
also-
his own company.
Yeah,
and on the side, but now he's full-time, so,
Yeah.
and I think he does a lot of that sort of work, I think.
he's also super busy.
Yes, he is too. He lives in, I think, Bowden, but anyways, he's a name of someone that I know.
Yes.
I'm not suggesting we hired him, but there are people out there.
He'd be great. I just, if we could ever get him.
Yeah.
I've been trying to get him to do an invasive management plan for the Forsyth fields, the lower fields by the river there, because there's no way we're gonna tackle that. That's a massive problem. And he says, her range of time, he says, oh, I'm so sorry, I can't make it. Like, we arrange another time. Oh, I'm sorry, I completely forgot. So I was just like, I have not literally been able to get him to go down there and walk with me and say, here's what's gonna take.
That's a pretty significant undertaking down there.
Yeah, I
All
know.
the Japanese, I'm sure plenty others.
Yeah, there's actually a whole bunch of barberry and honeysuckle, and also. Anyway,
Our
I
Rod,
guess-
go ahead.
I was just gonna go off on this tangent.
Our Rogers property walk was good. And Margaret said when they finished their report, they would send it to us just so we could look it over
Oh.
and also send us a template for what they fill out for both conservation properties and properties they own.
Yeah, actually, that was also, Margaret repeated that for us too.
Yeah.
It was said roughly by the end of the year, they'd have it done.
It was good to go out with them.
Yeah,
Mark was on our walk too.
oh, okay,
Town manager.
yes, yeah.
So it was nice to just get to chat with everybody about their work and
Yeah, we got to, they were curious last time about the trail, because they saw some, branches cut from some of the pine trees that were growing real dense up at the far end. And, so we just confirmed, yes, that's where we, because I wasn't sure where they were talking about the last time we were.
Was this on your property?
On the head of tide, we were communicating by email. I wasn't quite sure where they were talking about, but when we were out there, it was clear. Yeah, that's the area that we cut some branches basically to make the loop, to connect the loop. So anyway, so I guess, when we get those, we'll see what we can do to refine our approach to monitoring. Okay. So the next thing I wanted to talk about, is sort of a little bit open-ended. I did not get the chance to talk to Pam about whether we could use our open space fund, or how she felt about using our open space in lieu of fee funds for funding a natural areas plan update. But I don't know if you got a chance.
I had
to
emailed
talk
with you, Josh, a little bit about that too.
About talking to Pam. For the natural use plan.
Well, either to Mark or the assistant town manager about the use of same thing.
Open space funds for, I don't know, you got a chance to talk to you?
No, I haven't talked to Pam, but I mean, I know that basically the TCC and Pam have to both agree to it in
Yeah,
order to use it, from what I understand.
yeah. I thought we would use it to help with a grant that the PET committee was putting in for a GoPIF. What's it called? Actually, it's the community resiliency program grant. And it looks like they are going to max out the grant with their own stuff. They're developing a complete streets sort of vision zero plan. I'm hiring a consultant to help them with it, and it looks like it's going to be pretty much the whole, that's it. And so for this cycle, that's not going to be an option. And shucks, but so we still have to see if we can find other funding, if possible. My thought was maybe to think about limiting how much we do in the update, in the sense that there's some new information, like put in the minutes, the climate vulnerability maps that we're hopefully will have soon. And the important habitats from the Native Plant Trust and Nature Conservancy. Which there's, we went over this last meeting, there's a new analysis of where there are important habitats to provide, I guess, resiliency for native plants. And there's a big section right in Topsham, which was surprising because there isn't very much in the state of Maine, but there was a, so anyway, it's important. We probably should make sure that overlaps with our natural areas plan areas to conserve. And then I think that we probably, I don't know how much, we need some GIS expertise a little bit to sort of make that happen into, you know, consolidated maps, but.
Who do we use for GIS, Josh, now?
Yes, so the planning office is working on our GIS skills. Otherwise, Justin does some GIS, but not, like he does it specifically for assessing purposes. And then aside from that, interns. So right now in planning, I'd say our capacity is pretty small, but growing. Yeah.
Okay.
We used, the last time the natural areas plan was written, Judy Colby George was the consultant that did all the GIS.
Yeah, I remember working with her.
And she's now got a couple of firms combined, and she's now, it's called Viewshed.
You should.
Yeah, and so, and we did contact her 2021, I guess 2021 to say, give us an idea of like what you would propose for this. And she had, you know, I think four sections. One of them was just update the existing data. I don't remember off the top of my head now what all they were, but it came to about 40 grand, but that was before inflation.
And that was just for GIS stuff. I mean, that wasn't it.
No, that was
No.
also for community outreach.
Community outreach, yes, there was
Okay.
community outreach
Okay.
component. There was a viewshed analysis, which we kind of said, yeah, maybe this build out analysis would be more appropriate. So, and then I think there's one more component to it, but
It'd be good to see from my perspective how things have changed in the past 10+ years.
yeah,
As far as, you know, we had those maps showing growths from the 50s to
yes,
over the past 50 years.
Yeah.
What's happened over the past,
we
you
have
know?
that through 2000, roughly 2020. I mean,
Oh, we do?
if you go to the Conservation Commission webpage,
Okay.
there's a link at the top right. I forget exactly what it's called, but and just I can get there.
Just to see what's changed as far as what's been conserved or what's now, you know, conserved land that wasn't conserved back then. Areas that we thought were focus areas or areas that should be focus areas, how growth is infringed on those, and if we need to, you know, reinforce that with any changes as far as changing it, you know, zoning, things we talked about back then.
Yeah, it says patterns of growth story map.
Oh.
It does not concentrate, it concentrates on the developments, the zones where they wanted development. But it does have building points throughout the whole town. And
Who was this done by? Was this an intern?
yes,
Yes.
this is done by an intern, yes.
Okay.
As Josh said.
Are you looking at the story map?
I'm sorry, what?
Are you looking at the story map that was?
Yeah. Building points since 2010, and I think this was.
So our natural areas plan is over
2021.
10 years old. So we're talking about strategies for updating it, how we can fund it and what we want to include.
Yeah, I think that was.
Existing.
Please
Yeah.
interrupt us with questions.
We have to scroll down there a little bit.
Okay.
Is there a specific area in
Yeah,
Topsham that you're talking about
there
that was
is.
recently identified? Or is that?
No, it's just there are focus areas
Oh, yeah, those are
that
some of these.
were
these are really
identified
ones
for,
I have
that
no
were
idea.
important
I'll
natural
have to text,
areas,
but yeah.
and also
Yep.
that the community identified as important open space.
Sorry.
And we're talking about like review it, like it's good if we have a plan to review every so often to make sure that the goals that we put in there are being met, and if they're not, are there ways that we can help them along and help people make good choices so that our natural areas that are really important to the community are maintained. And so just- that's been on our mission list for a while, and we're trying to try to figure out how to get funding for that.
It was one of the action items in the or implementation items in the comp plan from 2019.
Yeah.
So we're slowly sort of working towards implementing it. And yeah, and so so there's some GIS component that we probably are going to end up needing some funding for. I'm thinking though that a lot of a considerable amount of the work is going to be, if the committee is willing to do it, would be to actually figure out what the implementation strategy should be. That, you know, tweaking what we have, introducing some new ideas, et cetera. And so I'm not so sure. I mean, I guess yeah, a consultant might be able to say, here's something that nobody's thought of or nobody's doing yet, and maybe you should try this. But other than that, I think over the last few years, we've been collecting sort of open space plans and sort of strategies from other towns, which have been doing this kind of thing. And there's quite a few options out there that we can look at to say, hey, let's, you know, this is a good idea. This will work here. This won't, you know, kind of thing. So I don't know. I think the I don't know. I'll leave it up to
Yeah, I mean,
everyone else. What's
if
our
we
next?
Do we usually hire just one intern? Summer?
One to two, depends. This year there were 3, but there was 1 in the planning office and then 2 that were working with the administrative office.
No, I'm just trying to think if we can hire an intern to just basically be focused on updating the natural areas plan for their summer project with, again, fairly limited input from us from our couple, 3 meetings that we would have with them. But the hard part, I think, with that, I don't know, I appreciate your thoughts about the ideas, you know, consultant might have unique ideas about like the development transfer ordinance and stuff like that. I'm not sure we necessarily need that sort of stuff. It's more GIS mapping to see what's changed, and see if we need to tune it up, basically, you know, what's changed, and could we do that with a little bit of our time and a lot of an intern's time over the course of the summer, Josh, but I don't know if you could have a intern devoted to outlining an update with our input. I mean, we could devote all of our meetings in the summer just to focus on reviewing their work products, you know, kickoff meeting, a midterm meeting, and then a final report on, and then we may have to run with it and do some more work with it from there. But the hard part is who's doing the GIS, because we definitely need to have GIS done.
Right.
And I don't know how qualified a, you know, Bowdoin student would be to do the GIS, or how qualified you would be, you know, or, you know, by that time.
Right.
Or do we just hire Judy just to help us with some of the GIS stuff? And it may not be $40,000 worth, but
Yeah. Well, then that was, of course, that was 2020. So who knows what the prices are these days?
I'm sure it's more than that.
Yeah.
A lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, prices of everything have gone up, including consulting services. So
yeah.
and you just have to pay people to keep them, or they just walk. You know?
Yeah,
So
exactly. And you know, health insurance keeps on going up. So
yeah,
I know there's stuff you have to pay for. So
Yeah, so
I don't know. I mean, I'm open to other ideas from others on the commission.
Is
I mean-
it feasible to consider dedicating an entire summer for an intern to that project?
I don't see why I couldn't float the idea. And you know, I can always see what town staff will say. You know, bring the idea to Mark and Jeff. I think that it sounds like it would actually be a really great project, I think, for a college student to work on. And it'd be an amazing thing to have on your resume to, the town's natural area plan. So, I mean, I think the experience would be a good one, so I can float it and, let you guys know.
I mean, it'd be good when you're looking at potential candidates to find someone that either has an interest or experience using Esri products,
exactly.
So I mean, that would be pretty important, I would think. So even if they can't do, certainly not everything Judy could do or staff at my office could do with GIS, they can at least get something started. And if we needed to hire someone to come in and touch things up for a polished plan, we could at that point. But we also have to budget for this, right? I mean, we have to put together a budget for this for next year. So we have to make some sort of assumptions about what we might need outside of an intern.
Yeah, that's a thought. And I don't know what's been happening in the last couple of years before Josh joined us was that there was such turnover in this planning staff that and also which meant that we really didn't have two full-time staff members planning people for more than like a couple of months at a time.
So I've heard.
There was no time to deal with consultants or whatever. I mean, they're already dealing with the natural recode, and so that was taking up all of everybody's time for a while. I imagine it still is going to be until a town meeting roughly, or April.
There's likely to be another draft, so that's going to be another round of comments and such. And it is taking a significant amount of the town's resources currently.
Yeah. Remind me, I have to talk to you. We have to. I want to add to the agenda the planning board meeting workshop that just happened. Anyway, if it looks like it's going to be possible, like as that basically the funding wouldn't come available until July anyway.
Yep.
So if we can sort of transition from recode to natural areas, that would be great. And I don't think we're not looking at something as massive as recode. I mean, we're just trying to tweak. I mean, make sure we're looking at the right data and then sort of improve our implementation strategies probably. So anyway, I don't know. Any other thoughts? I don't.
Well, I think we're gonna have to devote, a large amount of our meetings, if we're gonna do it next year, to the natural areas plan, because you know how it went last time. And how many years did it take us to develop a natural areas plan? And a lot of that was us just meeting and talking about stuff, Rod providing guidance. Obviously we had a consultant helping with the preparation of the document, but there was a lot of our time involved in that too. But I don't want to spend a lot of our time rewriting it ourselves. I'd like the intern to rewrite it with our guidance, but I think we'll need to do some prep work ahead of the summer. Looking at the table of contents, what's in the natural areas plan now? What are the list of things that are important for the intern to tackle? And what are those things that they may not be able to? But before then, we need to establish a budget for it at some. We don't have to do that at this meeting.
Right. Well,
we need to say, maybe we don't need the 40 or 50 or more thousand. Maybe we set a $25,000 limit for limited GIS services. Most of it is, and I don't know if the budget needs to include the intern's time. We'd have to know what 3 months or 10 weeks of an intern's time would be as part of our budget too.
Right, exactly.
If they're going to be devoted to it, so we'd have to get a rough idea of that to include in our budget. So I don't know. Audie, Dana, any other ideas? You want to take the lead on it, Audie?
Planning is not my strong suit.
Oh, I thought it was. Weren't you going for like the head of like the whole planning wing of the state of Maine?
I do work for a planning commission, but we have planners. I'm in permitting. I am sitting here like I don't really have any clue on how you tackle this, so I'm kind of at a loss. So I expect I'd be better. I think some of us who don't know, I don't, maybe we need to hear about what exactly you guys did last time, or I don't know. Could we have somebody come from somebody else who's done this process and tell us what they did? I don't know.
Can we do that the next meeting, maybe?
Possibly,
Can we share go through, not every page, but go through the table of contents and maybe the final recommendation?
of our.
Just to get,
Yeah.
well, that's the one, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
still in place, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's the one we did.
Oh, I
is
just
still
thought,
the one.
I just didn't know if it was general idea of like what, how you do a natural exam, but yes, we can.
I mean, I'm just thinking.
I meant through like if any of any conservation commissions in the area have done a refresh and how they tackled it. I mean, we have gone through it various times and we've all looked at it and read it. It's just, but maybe that would be a good idea to go through it as a group. But I was actually thinking, like, has anybody in our surrounding area gone through this process recently? Like, I know Durham maybe did.
Who? I'm sorry.
She said Durham.
Durham. I don't, most people are doing their first natural areas plan. And that's, basically the ones I've been hearing about they're starting, they're doing it from scratch. So I don't know I don't know off the top of my head anybody who's doing a refresh, sort of an update to theirs. I can probably ask around.
And we talked about looking into grants before, but I'm
Yeah.
not exactly sure what, like, are there a couple that we know would probably be a slam dunk if we applied? Like, or is it just a crapshoot of where we find places?
A number of 2 or 3 towns have gotten open space funding, substantial open space funding, like 50 grand from the Community Resiliency Partnership, and they still have money available. It's just that I don't know how competitive we're going to be if we're providing a second grant in the same cycle as somebody, another town committee. But next spring, they'll probably have another round next spring, so that's an option.
Like 2025 spring?
Yes, I'm sorry, yeah.
Which is really close.
Right.
And especially if we're writing a grant proposal.
Right.
And it would be very helpful to me to sit down and go through the natural areas plan and just
Yes.
and make an itemized list and maybe even start prioritizing what we think really needs to be accomplished with this revision. And then we can better tailor it to various grant opportunities to figure out what is most appropriate given our needs.
We did prepare a rough RFP about 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, 2 years now. So it's on our Google Drive. So that would be one place to look to sort of like what we were thinking. But that was, when we had sort of pie in the sky, is what we like to do. So maybe we need to trim that some. But what was the other thing I was going to say? Oh, coastal community. No, I'm sorry. Coastal resilience. No, I forget the name of the program. There's a program for coastal communities. Communities grant or something like that. I don't know.
Is it the coastal community grant?
Yes, it is. But there's one that's sort of like for planning rather than putting in a boat ramp or something like that. It's just,
Sorry, I'm on MPAP's site.
Okay. Trying to find, yeah. Well, that would be, I heard that somebody got funding through that for a natural areas plan, and I don't, or part of it, maybe not the whole thing. So that might be one place to look to. That's the only 2 that I know of from grant sources. A lot of towns have been doing it sort of by themselves with maybe a GIS person who can do some of the work, as like an intern or somebody who just, is a consultant that just does that little bit, but it's not specific to open space. And then does the rest of it themselves. A lot of it's building getting a community input and sort of building community trust in the plan, it's like, this is what we need to do if we're going to actually save our open space, kind of thing. That's I think. And I think that was a good part of it last time too, was getting that community input.
We already have a plan now, so hopefully it's easy just to refresh it.
Yeah.
Rather than redo it. I mean, unless we're coming up with some, huge recommendations that are gonna require big zoning changes that can always be controversial.
Yeah.
I think it's more just a tune-up of the plan and what's changed in 14 years,
Yeah.
2010,
Yeah.
so.
The biggest thing I see is that sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say the coastal community grant program did give money for some, like some different plans, some different, commissions, but it has to do with coastal resiliency. You have to have some part of coastal.
Yeah, we're not considered coastal being on Marion, are we? Is it
Kind of, we're getting,
title code? I mean,
we are getting funding for the Pleasant Point funding through a coastal communities thing, or coastal, I don't know, because it's coastal, I don't remember.
I don't know what the funding was, but yes, we.
Yeah, that part of it is, but yeah, and I don't know if that counts as
it's a stretch for this.
it might be a stretch though, yeah.
Well, we are affected by sea level rise in Topsham.
Right.
Like directly, right?
Yeah.
So as the sea level rises, so does the bay.
So does
So
the
does our
River,
community.
so does the Catamount,
Right.
so
Yeah.
ahead of tide, yeah,
Mhm.
so does the Androscoggin, the lower Androscoggin.
That's
Mhm.
title.
So
Yeah,
there can
it's
be an
title
argument,
from
it's
the
title
band down,
fresh, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I guess I'm wondering if maybe we have some, like an in with the conserving plant diversity report that was talking about the like important areas in Topsham, but that was also tied to flooding and climate resiliency. And I wonder if climate resiliency is a way to get some funding.
Oh, yeah, well, that's the Community Resiliency Partnership, no, that's the one source, but there might be others, yeah. Actually, I'll bring that up. One of the parts of the climate action plan will be figuring out what the strategies are, what we're going to try to do. But also, in the consultant's proposal was that they would be able to identify funding sources to get to the next level, do either additional planning or, implementation of some of these things. So I'll sort of plug in for.
I'd like to, I wouldn't say the December meeting, but I'll make a motion that for the January meeting, we devote that meeting to reviewing the 2010 natural areas plan and start. I don't think we need to do it between now and the end of the year. I mean, we could do it in December unless I'm figuring start the year out fresh.
Yeah.
And I like Andy's idea about trying to understand what we think are the important parts of the plan that should be updated as a commission, and then identify potentially funding opportunities that would match up with that. Maybe that could be talked about at future meetings, but not for the whole meeting.
Right, yeah.
Approve the minutes and just spend the remaining hour and 25 minutes going over the plan. Just for, you and I are, I'm a little rusty on it now because it's been 14 years, but we have 3 members that weren't on that commission when we did it. So it'd be good to kind of, what do we think as a commission is important?
Yeah, I think that's the key thing. Is what do we really, what do we want to get out of it? What parts need to change?
And we don't know what we don't know until we get some of the map updates, but I mean, it's still, I think we all can still get a pretty good idea of what we think. Things we might want to focus on being residents here. So.
Yeah. That sounds great. So January.
Does that work for everyone? I mean, I made a motion. Does anyone want to second that, or does anyone agree with that or disagree?
I'll second that.
Okay, great, okay. Didn't want just the two of us.
No, that gives me time to spend some quality time with the
right.
plan too
Yeah.
before we meet in January.
Yeah, I don't have to memorize it, but it's because I think it's what we're looking for is like what's important, you know, what part of this
Right.
plan is, do we really need to know more about, or dig in deeper or get updates on, so, yeah. So, yeah, that seems okay with me, and in terms of funding, I feel like we should put a placeholder, you
When are
know,
budgets?
10, 15, you know.
And then they're gonna start January, February, trying to
Well-
get draft budgets in February, maybe?
I'll have to check the sky.
Planning department has to submit their budget pretty soon, like, you
Yeah.
know, in November sometime, probably by the end of the month, so. I would say, why don't we just say like 10 to 15 grand for consultant fees, you know, or whatever else, like consultant fees. And then hopefully we'll be able to fill in
Let's
with.
go with 25.
Okay,
And then they
okay,
can cut us down to 10 to 50. if they want.
okay, okay.
I mean, we thought we needed 40 4 years ago.
Well,
which is
yeah.
probably 50 or 60 now.
I guess I'm hoping that there's a grant too, so, but anyway, yes, let's, like, that sounds fine. Let's go with 25 and see how that goes. And,
Anybody want to propose an alternate
I
number?
have no way of quantifying what we need.
I'm just going on
Yeah.
what we got from Jusha.
I mean-
From
And
Judy.
again, I don't know what, I don't know what Judy's rates are, but, you know, I can guess what I think her rate is.
You know, I think, she gave us, she wasn't thinking about redoing the
I
whole
mean, that might
plan.
be 150 hours of GIS time, which sounds like a lot. If that was just GIS time, I mean, based on billing rates for consultants for GIS services. I mean, she's pretty high up. She's been doing this a long time. She's not cheap.
Yeah,
And I
no,
don't know if it would be her doing it or she'd have someone,
I think she
you know,
has-
someone, you know, so it may be a little bit, you know, less, a little bit more hours than that, you know,
Yeah.
but, you know, that's just for the GIS, but, you know, does her company have resources that they can guide us in some of the areas besides just updating maps?
Yeah, actually, that was one of the reasons why I reached out to her, because she does have, I mean, she sheds a lot about open space and, you know, whatever, it's just, that's kind of the thing. So, yeah, as well as landscape architecture, she merged with a landscape architecture firm, so. But, you know, complimentary. So, yeah, yeah, I'm comfortable with 25 as an ask and see where we get. Anything to help. Get something started.
And the request for an intern.
For the intern.
And, yeah, intern, yeah, yes.
We'll ask big,
Intern.
maybe we'll get something.
So,
It's a shame it probably hasn't, you know.
Josh, are you gonna, do we need to email, does the commission, or do you need to email Sky about that to make sure it gets in the budget, or will you, how do we formally?
Yeah, so ideally, I believe the commission should reach out to Sky directly, just CC me on it, and I mean, I'll, you know, I'll talk to Sky tomorrow about some of the stuff, but like, just officially for records, like,
Okay.
you guys should submit the budget,
Okay,
like, as a commission.
okay.
Which we gotta talk about other things in our budget tonight too.
Yeah, well, I mean, the only thing we need to probably want to continue to be members of MEAC.
Yeah.
And so, that's 175, and then miscellaneous printing.
Whatever you had in there for that budget for, it was like $500 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But should we also, I mean, should we budget for any invasives removal, or is that all just stuff we're gonna do, yeoman's work, just, so?
you know, I don't know. There is a forestry grant that will pay, at least, will pay almost in full for the initial assessment of a property. I don't know if they're gonna run it again, but the last time I tried to do this, I couldn't get Kyle or anybody else in the area to actually come and, you know, say, yes, I can look at this, I can give you an estimate and we can submit a grant. And so I don't know if I can get that to happen. So I'm kind of hesitant to stick it in the budget. But it wouldn't be, I think if we put in 500, we would cover any of the expenses we would have for the initial assessment. And then for the initial plan, and then assuming we can get that grant. And then they have another process, which is they'll match 50% of actual implementation. So if that's still happening, then yeah, we can, it's part of the National Forest Service, and then it falls into the state's program, and I don't, the details were murky. Let's put it that way.
So when you invited Kyle to come and meet you, was that a freebie for him, or was the town gonna pay him to actually come out and develop?
No, it was just for us to sort of see what the scope of the project was, so we can come up with a number that we could put in for the grant. That was all it was for. It wasn't to do
So it was him
anything.
coming out, just
Just
looking at just like
Like
you
an
come and give
estimate.
somebody a quote, it's just an
Yeah.
estimate.
Yeah,
That's all.
10, 15 minutes or 20 minutes, whatever it would take us to walk around the
Okay.
fields and say, okay, here's what we're gonna deal with. How much is this gonna be? Give me a sense of what the
Okay.
plan's gonna be like, and then, give me a number and I can apply, well, actually, I think he has to be part of the application process, I think, because we have to identify
We have to identify who we're gonna work
who
with.
we're gonna work with in order to apply.
Okay.
So anyway, that was, so yeah, if we could, I'll keep an eye out for that program, but anyway, so I'm not sure. I think if we put in addition, the 25,000 plus 500 for miscellaneous, fees. We're probably covered. Keep our fingers crossed.
Across them with you guys.
Sorry, that probably got us off the agenda. I didn't copy the agenda, so I'm not sure what the agenda even said, so. I
Actually,
mean, I
no.
did look at it before.
The
meeting,
next
but I
thing
didn't
is
bring it up.
updates.
Yeah, the next thing was just updates. So we're,
Okay.
that was the focus of the meeting, was
No.
basically to figure out how to move forward with this, because it's been hanging over us, and I kind of wanted to see if we could slice and dice it somehow to get something happening. So anyway, yeah.
So we have no basis of a budget for doing any invasives removal. It would be just a guess at what we think we would need for, that. So we really do need to get someone to come look at town properties or
Yes.
select town properties so that we can then
And
try to get a grant, and then what else do we need to match it?
Match it, yeah.
Okay.
if we wanted to get somebody from Stan Tech to come and help us apply herbicide to some plants, we could probably figure out how much that would be pretty easily. I mean, we've gotten away with having people volunteer to do it in the past, but we can't guarantee that.
Yeah,
That'd be
I
the
could
case.
actually, why don't I email,
The guy who talked to Mia,
yes,
okay, I'll write a note for you to do that.
Yeah.
So Audie just said she has to run for a few minutes.
okay.
Okay.
So
I mean,
yeah,
I don't wanna go. I think we're gonna have a hard time getting any money. So to throw in a few $1,000s for invasives on top of 25, on top of the standard
Yeah.
500, I agree, probably. But
I'm
it's gonna
thinking,
be tough.
if we do anything, it'll be a couple of hours, 2 or 3 hours, maybe, of
Yeah.
somebody's time. It's not gonna be, we would do some cutting and they would come along and apply the herbicide, Yeah. And again, I'm not sure,
Buy him lunch or something.
I'm sorry, what?
Buy him lunch or something.
Buy a lunch, yeah. Well, no, I mean, but, pay them for the, a few hours. That's,
Where does that money come from?
yeah, well, from the $500, I don't know.
Someone from Stantec pay $500.
Yeah.
You're not gonna get him for very long.
Okay, okay.
A couple hours maybe.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, a couple
Okay.
hours, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, how much time?
Plus the 175 for your MEAC budget.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot.
Yeah, we have a lot there, yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm still thinking, Ryan convinced me that, we could do a lot of this by just continue, by making sure we stay on top of
That's
cutting.
fine too. I mean, I don't mind doing something like that. We could do that one of our meetings. We could go out.
Yeah,
Roll up our sleeves.
Well,
and-
manual
but-
labor's good.
But again, but if you're not putting herbicide on the plant, it is gonna come back. That's
yeah.
why they're invasive,
Yeah.
opportunistic, so.
Yes.
So we just need to, in certain areas, and obviously, we're not gonna tackle Forsyth Field area.
No,
That's
I,
but a small area like you mentioned at Tide Park or some other
Yeah.
spot areas. where
yeah, that took us, an hour, maybe an hour and a half or
Couple hours,
something. Yeah, a couple hours, and if I can get, we can see about getting maybe voting students or something, I don't know, some other help with us, that we can probably, deal with it pretty quickly. It's not as bad, as it was, previously, where we had, all the way down the hill, we were cutting stuff, I mean, we were just all over the place, but it's not that bad.
Doesn't the high school have to do community service?
That's a problem.
You might be right.
Might be a good opportunity.
We could give them some community service time,
Yes.
hacking at Barberry.
I was gonna ask how the areas are, is there a priority of areas to tackle? Like, I've heard head of
invasives?
tide mentioned a lot. Is there like a list of, this is our priority? Are they listed in priority?
Not really, we don't have, invasive problem is not, I mean, for some of our properties, you guys, walk,
Rogers.
Rogers property, I don't know whether you saw much there.
There.
Yeah, fortunately, a
That was
lot of the
nice.
stuff we own or that BTLT has, well, if BTLT owns it, then they pretty much take care of the invasives themselves.
Okay,
And,
It's just town.
it's really just town-owned
It'd be
properties.
town-owned
Okay.
properties.
And there's
And the
not-
biggest ones are Forsyth Field and Head of Tide,
Head.
which we've worked on in the past. But it seems like it's time to circle back around and do some work there again.
Yeah.
there are some other kids that do sports. They could have some of the older kids that have practices there.
Yeah. Oh.
I wonder if they could have a party. I don't know,
Yeah,
an
that's a
invasive party.
Yes.
Part of the mowing of the fields,
Yeah.
not kidding. it's not kidding.
That's for the high school.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there is an environmental sciences program at the high school, which the energy committee used to get, they did their own sort of assessment of basically the carbon capture from the forest and the trees on the property, and also how to become, what are the steps needed to become carbon neutral? So they're looking at adding solar panels, how much do their current solar panels and, energy needs are, and then what would they need to do to add to that? And they did a really good job. That was their senior year environmental studies program. And the person who was leading it has retiring, so I have to see if I can find out who it is there now, but that might be an option too.
And I think we would focus on areas that are, public facing, areas where we have people in it, like the trail you
Yes.
mentioned, or Head of Tide Park, Forsyth Fields. I mean, the town owns other properties that have invasives, but there's no public access. So we would really, like, I'm thinking of the one out on Winter Street, the River Road,
Oh, yeah,
the one that.
yeah, that one's,
That one has a lot, but there's no trails, there's no parking area, there's,
yeah,
yes, it's a town-owned parcel, but there's no public public can access it, it's owned by the town, but there's no trails or anything, so those would be lower on the list only because we don't have resources to do so much, and those don't,
yeah, there's only a few of those, and anyway, yeah.
The Wild Seed Project had, I feel like it was free classes for teachers to learn about native plants. I wonder if anyone took them up on that, because that would be a good contact to do some invasive removal and then possibly put in some.
Something to replace it,
Yeah,
yeah. That, I don't know if you know, but there's a yes, it's not, it's coming up next, yeah, I'll leave that for an update, but anyway, yes, there's another project we're working on about, for putting in, a pollinator garden, so,
Oh, cool.
anyway.
Which, is that a good segue?
Yeah,
We talk about
I guess, are we done? Yeah, so I guess action items are, what were they, in terms of the invasives? We'll ask for what we can, and then we'll do cutting, and if we can't get herbicides, we'll wait till the next cycle or something, and I'll see if I can find out about the funding for a management plan.
I also wonder, like, is there still a way that we could get like town volunteers? Like, I feel like if like in spring, like just as trails start to become walkable again after mud, I don't know. I feel like there are a lot of people in town that would actually be really excited about like a day out, just to pull some weeds, meet people.
The Maine Trails Coalition has a Love Maine Trails month, and they actually have a competition to see who who does who has the best project done in that time period. So I don't know, we could sort of work with that and see if we can find somebody, people that would join us.
An invasive social.
Invasive social, yeah.
I'd like one of the breweries to donate some
Yeah.
beverages.
Yeah.
I have it in with the coffee guy. Doing some-
Yes, you do.
It's really just like, I think just getting the word out there would be the biggest thing, but like
Work faster.
Yeah,
Facebook events,
Well,
things like that.
if we got 4 or 5 people, we'd be fine.
Well, we talked about having a talk at the library in the spring with Izzy about the pollinator garden and native plants. So that if we knew like a date whenever we had that talk, we could be like, and
By the way,
who wants to come help us kill things?
Yes. Get rid of the non.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that could be a kind of a fun thing to plan in conjunction with that.
Yeah. That sounds great. So on that note, let's transition to updates and pollinator garden, and I'm actually gonna let Josh.
Tell us the good news.
yes. So again, this was originally Izzy's conception. This was her idea for the
Summer intern.
Yes, can you give Clay a little background?
Yes, sorry. Okay, so yes, so Izzy was our summer intern in the planning office, and basically they took it upon themselves to do a project because they could pick what project they wanted to do, and so they looked at the transfer station, and we have 2 landfills that have been capped, and basically it's just like altogether it's like 16 acres worth of just like open space that it's mowed, but it's just like not being used for anything. And so they were looking at how can we use that space productively for anything. One idea that was floated was potentially doing solar. The problem with most things is just getting into the ground. So these landfills, they've been capped with I forgot how many inches.
I think it was 4 feet of clay. Is what the report said.
Yeah, like clay and sludge, like paper sludge on top of it. And there's a lot of PFAS underneath it, and so it's really important that the cap isn't compromised in any way. And so actually, their idea was to turn it into like a pollinator meadow habitat, and then we could have a trail, and people could like walk through, and then just learn about pollinators and just use it like productively for ecology and education and recreation. And actually currently have you been to the Topsham? Yep,
Yeah,
so there's already all kinds of recreational opportunities there. There are the ponds and there's an ATV trail and other just walking trails.
Like
a pump track.
Track, yeah, all kinds of fun things. Yeah.
Some things there.
Yeah, so we took the idea, Izzy took the idea to the select board, and they actually really liked the idea, and they wanted to see it go forward. And so as Izzy finished her internship, they basically, we, the planning office, said, okay, we'll take this on and get it to the finish line, because, the select board loves it, we love it, we think it's a great project. So we've been working pretty closely with Ed Karen. He's a solid waste manager, and he's also super into the idea. In fact, I say one of the reasons that the transfer station right now has so many great recreational opportunities is because it's a little bit, it's a labor of love for him. He just does it because he enjoys it, and so we're really lucky to have that. And so what we floated the idea to him, the idea of mowing the paths and putting the seeds down and then keeping the path mowed, he was super into it, super supportive of it. He loved the idea. And so Izzy had left me some contacts for who I could reach for a grant potentially. And I reached out to them a few weeks ago. It was the Maine Bee Wellness organization. And what's interesting is that they usually, most of what they do is geared towards beekeeping. But they are also interested in helping native pollinator populations as well, native bee populations. And so we sent them our idea. I requested the most that they said they could give, which is $4,000. And they said they loved it, and they haven't worked on a project like it before. And so they said yes, and they actually just sent us the check. And so, yeah, so we're moving forward. Yeah, I was like, okay, I guess take this bet down.
That's for doing
finance.
this.
Yeah.
I've wondered about those fields.
Yeah.
It does seem like a lot of space that could be
Yeah.
to a better use.
Well, he doesn't, I mean, basically, they don't want, they want gentle use.
Right,
So
right.
he basically right now is like, stay off the grass, is what
Yeah,
the signs all say
they
out
do
there.
say that.
And it's because, otherwise, I mean, he got ATVers and all kinds of stuff going on there, mountain bikers running all over it. And it's just like, he wanted to make sure that, he's responsible if anything leaks from that landfill, so, and also the town's gonna
And the
pay.
people's water sources.
Yeah, because it's, we're already paying for most of the filtration of all the surrounding properties. For water filtration for most of the surrounding properties, because they all have wells. And so, we don't, he doesn't want it to get any worse, so he's very protective of it. But in this case, we're talking about a grass path that, people would just walk on. And he's already mowed it, by the way. He's already got a path going around.
Yeah, that is strangely it's on Google Maps.
Yeah, you can see it on Google Maps.
Yeah, I was so excited. He really just did this a few weeks ago, so it's crazy that it showed.
Yeah, it's relatively, I was just out there, it was relatively freshly mown. And so, but the strategy, the thing I guess is, I'm not sure where we fit into this, but also the strategy, I guess was the mowing.
There it is.
Gosh,
Oh, yeah, that's it, yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
It is.
But the grass around that is still about a foot high.
Yes, so, exactly, so I think what you're getting at is, which is a really great point, if this is what you're actually, I'll just let you say what you're gonna say.
Well, I mean, if it were my yard and I had a little space, I would do is I cut it, as short as I could and solarize it for a while, just put black plastic on. But I don't know how we're gonna do that on, what is this, 9 acres on this particular parcel or something, or how much we can afford for $4,000. It might only be 5 acres or something of seed, but still, that's a lot of, and it's not gonna make, the timing doesn't work out because you really wanna get the seeds in, now or early spring.
Yeah, we were gonna put them in the fall, but the point is still great, and so I don't know if there are any other ideas you guys want, but the struggle is, so what we're gonna do is 10 feet on either side of the trail is where the seeds will go down.
Oh, okay.
But so what Ed's gonna do is cut the grass down to the lowest level. But the truth is that while some of the seeds will take, they have to make direct contact with the soil. And so if you're not tilling it or killing the grass there, it can make it more difficult for for the seeds to really take to get like the big bang for a buck. But the thing is, it's gonna cost a lot more bucks from what we're looking at it if we were to find a way to like to get those seeds out. One thing that we were thinking about.
Burning, you know how farmers use that.
So,
Yeah, I
actually,
mean,
I've had mentioned maybe if there was a way, I mean, maybe I could reach out to the fire. So I'd see if that's, you know.
it's a specific.
They might
it's
open their eyes
something
wide and be like, "Are you
specific
kidding
that
me?"
There's
farmers-
a-
It's like a
farmers
flame
use.
weeder.
Yeah.
There's a flame weeder, yeah, that you can use to, it's still gonna be a lot of work, but yeah, that would be one option, be a flame weed around the path. If it's only around the path, then it'll work.
And
The other thing I was thinking too, though, is if we cut it really short, and then laid the seeds, I don't know if this is gonna work for all wildflowers, but if we laid the seeds and then covered it with, compost,
Which
we have lots of it at the town transfer
right
station.
at the transfer station, and actually right from this little spot here, when you're standing here, you can look over in this direction and you can just see our little, you know, you can see our 2 piles here of compost.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I did, and actually, that's actually twofold because, so either, another thing, we actually had some representatives from the coastal Maine Botanical Gardens come, and one thing that they suggested we might be able to do is if we put like a thicker layer of compost on each side and then seed the compost.
That's what I
But
was
you wanna put the
thinking
seeds on
too.
top of the compost. I
Yeah.
think.
Exactly, and then what would happen is, of course, some of the grass would come through, but the seeds would be able to like really
That's right.
compete and
Yes,
have their roots in the ground.
yes.
So.
Or you could put
that's-
down newspaper or cardboard,
Yes,
and then
that's another
put-
thing.
and there's lots of cardboard.
He has tons of cardboard. The trick is getting it sort of like stay down.
Well,
Well,
if
if
you
you
put
cover-
compost on top.
I'll put down the
Yeah.
cardboard on
Yeah.
the
Yes,
native
yes,
top
if you put
grass.
the cardboard down and compost on top of it, it will stay
I
there.
tell you, if you give Eddie that project, he will put the cardboard down, I bet, and he will put the compost on top of it.
this
and
is
then-
gonna be our social
And then you
party.
just, somebody's gonna,
Yeah.
somebody's gonna go out there and seed it.
Seed it.
Do you have a
Seeders, I
mix
mean, literally.
already?
Yes,
Yeah.
so the seed mix that that I'm looking at here, and I can actually show you because there's like a nice list. It's with American Meadows. I don't know if you guys have heard of American Meadows.
Yes, yeah, I bought seeds from them before.
Just gonna go ahead. Native North.
We tried to seed, an area of our yard that was torn up with, oats and clover from them. The oats,
Clover lawns. Clovers make really green lawns.
yeah, I know, yeah.
They're
we-
nitrogen
The
clovers.
the clover took okay, the oats, we really had to plant every single seed. Like, you know, poke it in the ground because it just didn't come up any other way. That was a real labor.
Yeah, so this is the mix. It's 100% native to the Northeast. So, you know, the idea isn't just to have nice flowers, but, you know, we want to spread things that are native to this area, that, you know, that can also act as larval hosts for butterflies so that the caterpillars can munch and turn into butterflies. So it's got all kinds of things. Columbines, milkweeds, asters,
Chopiweed.
chopiweed. What's fun about this like partridge pea, and this is actually something I recently learned about, is that it's a native annual, and so it's actually really quickly growing, and so but it drops a lot of seeds.
Yeah.
And so that's just how another, like, you guys might also know, 'cause we have a ton of our backyard. What's it called? It's that one that has the little seeds. You touch them and they like pop.
Oh,
Jewelweed. Yeah, that's another native annual. It
Yeah,
just grows
yeah.
1 year and it dies, but boy, it comes back. Because the seeds
Yeah.
go all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah. So these are, so actually, yeah, this is the, yeah. So the thing is, these are not all native per se to Maine,
Yeah.
but to areas of the Northeast.
Mhm.
So, it's,
Oh,
I didn't think lupin was native. but-
no, is it the actual native lupin?
It's not the
I would
sun.
hope it's the,
I don't know that it's a sundial.
Golden
Is it
rose
this
or-
no, I believe Where's the
Go up,
Lupin?
yeah.
There is one, yeah.
I believe Perennis is the native one.
It's hard to get the native one.
I was thinking that too.
Sundial.
Yeah, that's the sundial lupin.
Oh, that's great.
Because
Yeah.
the
I should order some because I can never find the
Yeah.
wild
Right,
lupin that's
same.
native.
what's the other one? Lupine.
So Mrs. Rumpus.
They're so fussy. They're so fussy too, that grow.
Lupin?
Yeah, it seems like they want to grow where they want to grow and not where you want them.
Western.
Yeah. That's the one that's everywhere along the roads, because.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I wonder if it's
Specifics. There are
Maybe a lot.
specifics. If you look
Still so pretty.
harder, there are specific Maine or New England, because that's required for DEP and other agencies. Like they have to be native mixes, so they are out there.
there are definitely companies that do have like native seeds, like native, you mentioned the Wild
Wild
Seed
Seed,
Project.
yeah.
The difficulty is the quantity of seeds that we're looking for. The quantity with the variety, and that's something that we had a hard time finding.
I mean, it's certainly gonna be better than grass.
Right.
And nothing in there is like an invasive, as long
No.
as that lupin is the one
As
we
long
want,
as this is
which
the
it
right
is.
lupin.
It's still gonna
Yeah.
look prettier anyway.
Oh, yeah, and
Yeah.
well, and it'll
And the
be
pollinators will like it.
pollinator friendly, yeah.
Yeah, so it's exciting.
It's super exciting.
Now, the other part of it is the $4,000 grant does not completely cover the seeds. And so if the Conservation Commission is amenable to it, we could ask Pam as well if that's something that we could pull from the fund, any extra fees. And the extra fees would be, I believe we have 4,000. I believe we're looking at about,
It's like 6,000.
it's like 6,000, and then the signs, we're gonna put signage, but together for the two signs, it's about 150. I talked to a local banner company, in Brunswick. I think they're Brunswick, Spokane. So,
Signs are crucial. I mean, if we're gonna do
Right.
this, we wanna educate people about
Yes.
what kind of seed we got, and where we got it, and put it in
Right.
your own yard.
Right, well, so the signs are gonna say, I mean, they'll be nice, but they'll just say like, Topsham Meadow Loop with maybe a butterfly on it, but I do think,
But we could have the Conservation Commission's website on there, and we could add that
Yeah,
information.
Yes.
a QR code.
That's
with-
true.
Yes, a
Yeah.
QR code to a page that then gives more detail, yes.
yep, we could do that, and we could have like, like a little, the website on it. And then it doesn't necessarily stop there, like if we wanted to in the future, we could always add, which I think is a great idea, add educational signage.
Mhm.
And that could also be something that could, like, we could work with the intern on, if they could make a large graphic, and then we could look at how much it would be to get a sign for that, as well in the future, because I think that is important. People are walking through it, and then they can kind of learn a little bit, enjoy the space.
Or even like a little, like, there's 5 stations, and you learn something each one or something.
Yeah, all the programming. No, I love it. Like all the ideas.
Oh, we could do a story walk,
Yeah.
and we can put native plant
Yeah.
books out there for
There you
kids.
go.
Like the little events. Yeah. I mean,
Big is the space?
Say it again.
How big is the space? Sorry, I missed it. I had to step out for a second.
So, no problem.
It's,
It's 10 acres. So can you see my screen? You might not be able to. Can I share my screen? You should be able to. Let's see.
Down below, middle,
Sure, yeah, the green.
middle of the green,
button.
green
Top.
area.
acres.
Big green button in the middle. Thank you.
So Ed already cut the path. And we got $4,000 to cover the seed in a grant.
Yeah, so this is the solid waste facility. This is it's about 10 acres of a landfill, of a capped landfill. And so you can see the path here. Oops, nope, not over there.
Is that pond man-made?
Yes, it is man-made.
Yeah.
And yes, it is named after Ed. It is named
That's Little Eddie and Big Eddie's the other pond.
after Little Eddie and Big Eddie.
I didn't put that together before.
It is indeed. Yep, it is truly named after Ed.
Oh, that's awesome.
Actually, I don't know if you noticed, but a couple of the biking, the mountain biking trails are named, Eddie, I forget. Well, a couple of them are going fishing, but I forget what the Eddie ones are. There's a couple that are named Eddie something.
Let's see if we could find and I'm like, you know what? He made a lot of this possible, so it's great.
Yeah,
That's fine.
fantastic.
Since this is being recorded, I want to take advantage of that. I want to clarify that you stated earlier that now mountain bikers and ATVers are riding on top of these. They're not.
They're not now.
They're not.
Yeah.
And I've never observed that, because these fields up until recently were hayed. And there were specifically signs to not get on these, but now the haying has stopped, so a mountain biker's not gonna just go right across grass.
Yeah,
this high,
no, I
full of
meant,
ticks and everything.
I guess
so,
I misspoke. I meant that he was concerned that that might happen.
yes,
if it
yeah,
was
so
not.
there's specific ATV and mountain biking trails
Yeah,
out there that are used, and I've not seen, I mean, Eddie would know specifically, but in case the select board's listening to this, I don't think I don't want the ATV crew or the mountain bike crew to be looked upon poorly.
no.
They generally stick to the trails that are out there, so. And I usually when you go out there in the summer, it's just grass that's yay high, and there's no sign of anyone riding across it or anything.
Yeah.
I think Eddie.
I think what you meant was that they wanted to manage it so things didn't happen on there that shouldn't.
Right,
Yeah.
right, exactly. Yeah, he wanted to make sure that that was the case, not, yeah.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's happening. So the next steps would just be me like getting an actual like number, like the number. And then seeing how much we have, plus how much we might need. And then get the okay from you guys at our next meeting. And then we get the okay from Pam. And then I would put the order in for the seeds and Ed was good to for us to put them in December, January. Sure.
Are you guys already committed to where you're getting the seed, or can we ask around for suggestions?
I mean, if you'd like to, if you have some ideas of some spots that might be worth looking into, I'm totally open to that. Absolutely.
I might know
Yes.
the right people in my state service journey to ask these questions to.
Sure.
They might have a line on.
No, that's great. Absolutely. If we find something that's like even more native, just as affordable, then I'd be happy to do that. Yep. There's no reason why we have to do this one specifically. So if we do find better, let me know, and I'm all about it.
Which one was it that you were looking at?
So this is the American Meadows. It's the native Northeast wildflower seed mix.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Great. I
No problem.
am in charge of the minutes. Do you mind telling me your last name? So I can. Sure.
Sturge, T-H-E.
He is
Eight
your
minutes.
boy.
Yeah, okay.
T-R-G.
What else?
Great.
There's a couple of other updates. There's a brewing, we've been talking about reviving the vernal pool SAMP program here in Topsham, some sort of demonstration project, or somebody wants to actually use the process. I won't go into the details of the process, but for a long time, but,
Oh, it's when I'm in lab. I
I
wanna go.
I know, and I may have to leave for Boston at that time. My wife's got to go down for a test and she may need a driver. So anyway, I'm not so sure that there's really is an opportunity here, because the last time we looked at this, we met a couple of years ago. And we looked at the maps and stuff, and vernal pools are really, there's a couple of them along 196 that could, where there's potential development. But there isn't really a whole lot that's like smack dab, where development is going to occur. And so in our vernal pool overlay district, basically. So, we passed the ordinance, so that's why Iran is trying to get, something to happen here, because she wants a demonstration project so she can convince other towns to adopt the ordinance.
Yeah.
But I really think Scarborough's that both Jim Howard and Steve Pelletier, and I forget who else was at that meeting, they all said, Scarborough is the place, they've got the downs, it's got vernal pools all over it. They want to develop it. This would be the place to use the SAMP, but the Special Area Management Program. But they can't get Scarborough to actually pass the law to adopt it. So anyway, so that's the quandary there. And I was going to go to the meeting just to sort of find out what's happening and see if there's anything we can do, but I'm not sure. Anyway, we'll see.
So that's Wednesday at 1.
Yeah, that's Wednesday at 1. It's going to be at the Brunswick Town Office at room 206. I found out just the other day. The Murray Meeting Trail has been, I don't know if you've been aware of this, but all month has been doing community listening sessions, and we had one here in Topsham on the 29th, and had about 60 people there, 58 or something like that, which was good. What we've been hearing is that people want to use it for everything. Horseback riding, commuting, whatever. ATVers want to use it, snowmobilers, skiers, et cetera, et cetera. So
that came up. Yeah, that was a select board.
And actually, Mark Waltz was at the community meeting too. So the challenge is going to be, I think, designing it so that it accommodates all these uses. We do have, in Topsham, we're lucky, we've got some double track, so it's cars kind of nice and wide, and it's like 96 feet on average most of the way. So we might be able to do 2 trails. Might be able to have like a grass gravel trail and then an actual, maybe a paved or at least a fine stone dust trail, or for people who want to use bicycles and strollers, and not sure about rollerblading. Roller skis came up.
Accessibility.
Yes, accessibility was, yes, we talked about accessibility, having part of it maybe be paved from town out so that people who were in wheelchairs, all of that, everything came up. Parking lots that could accommodate a horse trailer, you name it. We had so it's like the next step for the group is to actually get together and figure out, what are the key things that we need to talk about.
Where's the funding coming from? Because this is going to be tens of millions of dollars to build this trail.
They're about 30 million. Yeah. It's going to come from alternative transportation funds. And that leads into the next thing that I was going to talk about is if anybody hasn't voted yet, they should vote for the trail fund. Little political plug. But the trails fund is going to provide about, if it passes, it's going to provide $7.5 million a year for trails. It will not apply to any converted rail trails. So by state Rail Preservation Act, at least according to Doug Beck, who's in charge of the program. So it's going to more or less replace the recreational trails program. I don't know if anybody's familiar with that, but it's like what you can use for recreational trails. There's like there's off-road vehicle versions, motorized versions, but there's also pedestrian and other trails. And the that's only about $1 million a year in actual trail money, and this is gonna be, 7 times that, so. And the RTP program will be used for public lands, basically, the Parks Department, whatever the State Park Department. Anyway, I thought I sort of got the draft at the Maine Trails Conference Coalition meeting this last week. I got the draft of the regulations. I haven't read it all in detail yet, but anyway. It'll be something that we might, if we're trying to build trails anywhere, it's something we probably should look into, because it's just going to be a lot more. It was hard to get RTP funding, but this might be a lot easier, especially if we're not asking for a ton of money. So, anyway, that was it. Unless somebody else has another update.
Planning board workshop.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, Josh, thank you. So what happened at the planning board workshop where they were talking about the draft of the recode?
Yes, so that meeting, the planning board, so the workshop was, the previous draft of recode went to the town lawyer, and so he looked over the draft just to see if there were some issues in it that, legally the town should be aware of, and that was the general purpose of that meeting. Just to, the huge majority of the meeting was just that the lawyer was kind of explaining some parts that, for example, you can't, anything that's dimensional in an ordinance counts as zoning, even if you put it in another part of your ordinance, and zoning cannot be waived by the planning board. And so, there have been some parts where there may have been dimensional standards because we are working with form-based code. And so, he was explaining how we can word that to say you are allowed to have perhaps this limit to this limit. And this is just an example of the kind of thing that it was very nitty-gritty, language updates for the consultants.
Making sure that it's legal, yeah, okay.
Right, yeah. And then we're not conflicting with state law.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was curious because there's, so they're working on another, so what's the process now? They're working on another draft?
Yes.
Incorporating the comments from the public that were, okay, or not incorporating them?
So the idea is to, so the idea is to take, incorporate comments from the public as well as what the lawyer told us, and then take that and pull together a third draft of recode that would then, go back out for people to look at, comment, and whatnot. Okay. So.
Did you happen to notice if our invasive species had been removed from the landscaping? If that was in there?
So I have taken this torch and I'm using and actually what I'll do is next meeting, let's see if I can bring the code with me, and we'll see if that gets into recode. I'm not, I'm not working on recode, and so there's a chance that that what might happen to the landscape is that we might just take an area of landscape ordinance that was in the zoning portion and move it into the landscape portion, and that could be it. But of course, as you guys are well aware and have looked at your edits, there are many parts of the landscape ordinance that can be updated. One of which is, of course, one taking off invasive plants. Another, right. So that among other things, but I can share with you what it's looking like. So that may get into recode. TBD.
Okay. I'll look forward to see if they've incorporated any of our other suggestions on open space changes.
I know, you had a comment on, what was it? It was, oh yeah, like solar not being allowed.
Yeah,
Oh, the mistake.
that was a
Yes,
mistake in the
correct.
table.
Okay,
Yeah,
I was just
yeah,
thinking, yeah.
yeah.
I was like, that's when I remembered that,
yeah,
yeah, the questions came up and everyone was like, what?
yeah. I was thinking, nobody from CPAC understood why that, we didn't do anything about that.
Yeah.
Nobody from planning did it, so it's like, what the heck's going on? Anyway, yeah, no, that was just a mistake, fortunately, because that was a big change. But yeah, I was thinking more of like the, requirements for open space subdivisions and that kind of thing. Rural zoning in general. There was one change that was nice. So if you already have if you're trying to subdivide an existing parcel that's either in the open space tax program or in the farmland tax program, it has to be done as an open space subdivision. Cannot be done as a conventional. So that was nice, actually, and that was something that slipped in, I think, by the consultants, because that's when nobody again said, we didn't change that, we didn't change that. Like, well, it's in there, and it's got like a red line, so it's definitely a change. So anyway, yeah. So if that stays in, that'd be great, but I'm sort of hoping for a little more, that's all.
Yeah, well, and I know that the trick with this is like code creep. And so I know that for this recode, they were focusing, and I don't want to speak too much for what they're working on because I haven't been directly involved with it, but I believe that they've been working mainly on the center zones.
Yeah.
And so as lots of comments and ideas have come up for other zones outside, and I think they're trying to keep their focus to that spot. Not to say that one, like that these ideas should be put out there anyway to see if they can get dry. And then two, that that it couldn't be a follow-up. I mean, the idea of a recode is we do the recode and then now we can just like take a breath and it's done. We're not gonna have to touch it again for 10 years. To be honest, as soon as you finish it, then you have to start thinking about the future again. What is the next step, because these things take so long. So that's as much as I can throw on that.
Yeah. Okay.
Motion to adjourn?
Yes, I'll second that.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Okay.
It is 7:06.